It was a cool autumn evening, and Salty was shunting around Brendam Harbor. A light layer of fog was scattered throughout the yard, but Salty didn't mind. It helped bring back stories he had heard on the mainland. He chuckled to himself as he remembered one that was perfect to tell Cranky and some of the dock workers later. After arranging a line of trucks, he rolled along the quay and saw an engine coming into the harbor. "Arg, who might that be?" "I don't know. It looks like Henry, but darker." The fog had lifted, but there was still a chilly presence. The engine got closer, and they could see it was actually an N-15. Salty was impressed. He hadn't seen one of those since his time working at Southampton docks. "Hello there. Is this Brendam Harbor?" Hello, sailor, and, yes, it is." "Good. I was afraid I went down the wrong line." "I see. Well, what brings you to Sodor?" "I brought this train from Barrow. The original diesel broke down, and I volunteered to bring it on." Salty was perplexed. He had just learned about the delayed goods around 10 minutes ago before this engine arrived, and suddenly, it was here. "Where'd you like me to shunt these trucks?" Salty didn't respond for a moment, and he was still curious about the stranger, but he quickly found his voice. That shipment. Thank you, sailor. And you can leave it here. I'll shunt them away." The stranger smiled. "Anytime. And that sounds like a plan. Now, where can I find a turntable?" "Around the bend behind that large warehouse." "Thank you. I must be off." "Why the sudden leave?" "Oh, I got another train to take. Mustn't be late now." Understandable. But may I ask what your name is, sailor, before you go?" "My name, it's nothing important. Again, thank you." And the engine puffed away. Strange engine. Salty began shunting the train away, and caught a glimpse of the engine coming back and leaving the harbor. He didn't appear to be a Sudrian engine, and none of the others mentioned a new engine. Plus, steam hadn't taken mainline trains for decades on the mainland. Then, what did he mean by another train? "Must be a rail excursion," he finally concluded, and resumed the last of his shunting before turning in for the night. The next morning, Salty was arranging some flatbeds when Edward arrived. "Morning, Salty." Morning, Captain." "What's on your mind? You seem distracted. More like confused." "What about?" "A strange engine brought a train to the docks last night. However, he didn't look like a Northwestern engine." Did he say where he brought his train from?" "He did. It was Barrow. He said the original engine broke down." "Now, that is strange." "Indeed, Captain." "No, I mean it is." "What are you talking about?" "There were reports a train went missing from Barrow last night, bound for Sodor. Like you said, the original engine broke down, but they couldn't find a replacement. So canon shunted it into a siding. About an hour later, they found it gone." Impossible. An engine brought the train last night. See? The leftover trucks being that siding, Captain." Edward looked over and was shocked. "Salty, who was that engine that brought the train?" "He never said his name, but was the same class as that Merlin engine, an N-15. "Did you happen to catch his number?" It was 30769. Edward gave Salty a serious look. "Are you sure that was his number?" "It be written on his cab, Captain." Edward sat quiet for a minute, collecting his thoughts. Finally, he sighed. "Salty, that engine was scrapped many years ago." "There better be a story, 'cause he was here last night." "There is." The damage was severe. Both locomotives were unsalvageable. Then, how did you come to know about him? His tender was one of the 6 Duck used to trick Henry back then. Later, while the tenders were finally being scrapped, a workman that had looked up what happened to each engine told me their stories. So you're telling me, Captain, I saw a ghost? I'm afraid so. Salty looked out to the sea. It's a pity. He seemed like a nice lad. No engine wants their working life to be over like that. It appears his spirit's still out there, looking to be useful whenever he can. Let's just hope he finds peace so incidents like this won't happen again. Aye. Salty never forgot about the engine after that. From time to time, he would tell others the engine's story so he wouldn't be forgotten. Some passed it off as another of Salty's tall tales, and others were left intrigued. While he never saw the engine again, he hopes that one day the engine will find peace and finally rest.